Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, we're going to take a look at the very, very, very short discography of a really great band that was not around long enough. In fact, there's really not enough of a discography to actually rank, so we're just going to use this excuse to talk about them. I'm talking about the great Irish power trio Taste, which provided the launching pad for the beloved late Irish guitar legend Rory Gallagher. Okay, so here we have the trio formed, launched their debut album in 1969. John Wilson on drums, Rory Gallagher on guitar and vocals, and Richard McCracken on bass. What a band. What a band. If you like late 60s heavy bluesy hard rock, kind of along the lines of, not too far removed from what Zeppelin, the Jeff Beck group, were doing at the time. Maybe a little bit of Mountain, powerful, bluesy, fuzzy riffs, blistering solos, right? A thunderous rhythm section, and energetic songs. Just like, hard rock and blues rock doesn't get much better than this. Only 2 studio albums and a couple of later live releases, right? So let's take a look at them. As far as ranking them goes, I don't think it gets, the 2 studio albums are both really, really good. One is clearly a little better than the other. All right, so I'm going to go. My favorite of the 2 is the debut. Okay, it's just called Taste. Of course, that's Rory on the front. 9 tracks. It's not the long. Neither one of these albums are very long. I think they're both 35 minutes or thereabouts. Okay, which was fairly normal back then. You got the Crankin' Blister on the Moon kicking things off on here. Leavin' Blues, the long, slow, simmering, slow, nasty blues of Sugar Mama, a song that they would play live quite a bit, turn it into epic length, right? You got Hail, you got the shimmering Born on the Wrong Side of Town. Great kind of chords on that tune. Then Dual Carriageway Pain, another really good, crunchy blues rocker. Same Old Story. The menacing 8 minutes plus of Catfish, another song that they would play live quite a bit, which has some extraordinary screaming guitar work from Mr. Gallagher, but it's heavy, it's dark, it's menacing, it's kind of fuzzy. And then, of course, I'm moving on to quietly finish things off there. Their second album released in 1970, so 1969, 1970. You got On the Boards, their second and last studio release from this trio. Just so you know, Mr. Wilson on drums has actually resurrected the band in recent years, obviously without Richard McCracken, can't do it without no Rory Gallagher, right? So it's got a new lineup with Sam Davidson and Alan Niblock. I've never heard it, no idea what they've been doing, though. I think they've had to change their name from Taste, I think, or had to, or they chose to, but they're still playing a lot of the old songs. Anyway, I digress. On the Boards is the second and last album from the band. You've got the amazing song, What's Going On, less than 3 minutes long, but it's still kicking slice of bluesy rock. What's going on? Dun, dun, dun. Great guitar work on there. Railway and Gun. It's happened before, it'll happen again. Another cool bluesy rocker. If the Day Was Any Longer. Morning Sun. Eat My Words. Rip roaring bluesy boogie right there. On the Boards. If I Don't Sing, I'll Cry. See Here. And then finishing it off with a really, again, if you love like those initial Jeff Beck group albums or the Zeppelin stuff, the last song in here called I'll Remember. Really good, kind of fuzzy, bluesy, hard rocker. This was one of the great power trios of all time. Don't get mentioned enough, right? Because they're not really big in a lot of parts of the world, and they were not around long enough to really make a huge impact. But of course, this album, after they released this album, the band would, of course, splinter. Rory would go on to a pretty solid and long solo career, and I think the material from this album better represents what we would expect and hear from Rory on those first few solo albums. Whereas the first album is definitely a little bit different, a little bit heavier, but great stuff nonetheless. So we would get some other stuff from the band. Okay, we would get Live Taste, which again, this was a live band. This is, if you, from all accounts, if you saw these guys live, you will never forget it. So here you've got live versions of Sugar Mama, Gamblin' Blues, I Feel So Good Part 1, I Feel So Good Part 2, altogether close to 8 minutes worth of blues rock frenzy. You got almost 9 minutes of Catfish, and then Same Old Story to finish it off. A really good live album. However, they also played at that, tremendous, notable Isle of Wight festival. And for, you can read anywhere. You've probably seen clips of them from the show. They released the full show on DVD and Blu-ray a couple years back. They also released a live album with a truncated version of their set. So they played like in the middle of like early afternoon, sun's shining, and they just totally decimated everything. Amazing performance that was ironic because the band had basically already agreed to split up at that point, but they wanted to play the festival. So for a band that was ready to break up and go their separate ways, what a performance. So anyway, they originally released Taste at the Isle of Wight, but then in the last couple of years, they have reissued it, remastered it with pretty much the full set, called What's Going On? Taste Live at the Isle of Wight. This is the one to get. This is the whole kit and caboodle. Man, is it killer. All right, so here you've got What's Going On. You got Sugar Mama, Morning Sun, Gamblin' Blues, Sinner Boy, I'll Remember, I Feel So Good, Catfish Blues, Same Old Story, and Blister on the Moon. It's an incredible performance. Incredible performance. And, the band is just, the rhythm section thundering away, and Rory just absolutely putting on a show. I mean, he was in his element on stage. Just, again, wearing, never with, just look at the picture. You got the huge crowd at the Isle of Wight, and you got him, of course, he's wearing his flannel shirt. He's got that beat up Stratocaster that he was never without, and just sizzling on the guitar. And, very good vocalist, too, in my opinion. I know there's some folks who don't like his singing, but this was such a band. It's just a shame. I think after this performance and all the buzz about it, if these guys would have continued on, who knows what might have happened? Who knows? I mean, like I said, Rory did pretty well in his solo career, but it's not like he was like a huge household name. And sometimes, bands have that ability to break out into the mainstream a little more than solo artists, especially during that time period. But who knows, right? Who knows? But we have these cool documents of the band Taste. So if you haven't checked these out, I highly recommend getting them. So you got the self-titled debut, you got On the Boards, all right? Those are the only two studios. Then you got Live Taste, and you got the Isle of Wight performance. Make sure you get this one. It's the one to have. So there you have it. Quick little show on Taste. I wanted to give them some love. I wanted to give them a separate episode, not just lump them in, throw them in as an afterthought on the Rory Gallagher episode, because I think this band was just really special. Deserve a little mention on their own. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. We'll see you guys later on with more programming, right? So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, and have a good one. Be safe. Bye-bye.